Hello, and welcome back to the world of the Carpenters. Last we left the Carpenters, they had doubled their numbers to 5 workers and the Queen. Well now, the colony has over 20 workers. For their species and genus, they have been growing quite well. I have been super fortunate to have had such a healthy start to this colony, with such prolific numbers. Over 20 ants may not seem like a jaw-dropping ant colony size, but many carpenter ant colonies don't reach such sizes until after their first hibernation, or to be more accurate, diapause. Diapause is a cold temperature survival strategy where an organism slows its metabolism tremendously, and some species of animals even produce specialized antifreeze proteins during and before this time. The ants typically will still seek water and nutrition sources at this time if available without spending much energy if the temperature is high enough, but can slow its metabolism enough that one full belly can last a full winter. Luckily, ants have specialized crops in their digestive tracts that they can use to store food in, like being a living food barrel. They can then feed themselves and other ants via the mouth-to-mouth regurgitation called trophallaxis. This allows them to be even more effective at the winter diapause than many other animals, and gives them the tools they need to be loaded with energy come springtime. Talk about amazing adaptations. The winter is still a ways out though, and the colony is now big enough to be able to navigate some new stomping grounds. In ant keeping, there are 2 major components to most setups. The first is the formicarium, or where the ants live and nest in. The second piece is the outworld, or an area designed to mimic the surface world. Most known species of ants live in concealed, often subterranean nest spaces, but they hunt, forage, and gather materials for their nest on the surface. I say most because some species live exclusively subterranean lives, and some are partially or completely arboreal, or living in the trees. Also, there's so much we have yet to discover and learn about the majority of life we share the planet with. Occupying different spaces like this allows many species to coexist, and an ecosystem to have more niches for plants and animals to fill, which is great for an ecosystem's biodiversity. Anyways, back to the Carpenters, because it is time to introduce the new addition to their home, their outworld. This new space was made from a $6 creature keeper from a big box pet store, a biome kit from the Ants Canada Ant Store, not an affiliate or partner, and a printed picture of forest floor taped to the back for dramatic effect. I'm very happy with how this relatively low budget space ended up, but it was time to see if the Carpenters would be as pleased. Workers found the tube leading to the outworld and began exploring, very cautious about the new space. The caution is well advised, too, because in the wild, an ant colony this size is still very vulnerable, and workers are far less expendable than in large colonies, so each move has to be careful and considered. The oldest workers, the Nanitics and the first of their sisters we got to see closed in an earlier video, seem to be more comfortable in their new environment. But I wanted to help them realize what this space was, so I let their instincts guide them. I placed in a fresh feeder roach, an easy-to-keep tropical species that I have a colony of called Blaptica dubia, or Dubia roaches. The roach was mortally wounded, but as I found out, similar to crickets, roaches can live for quite a while after fatal wounds, or even after being exposed to lethal freezing temperatures. It is my intention to perfect my feeding strategies over time to ensure it is as humane as possible for all creatures involved. It took just over half a minute for the first ant to find the nutrient-rich offering. Then, less than a minute after it was introduced, there were 2 workers that immediately set to work gathering food and processing the large prey item. The ants seem to be very enthusiastic about this new food, much more so than with the crickets, which is good to see. But while the ants began digging in, the frozen and then maimed roach started moving again. Probably just reflexes like the crickets, right? Wrong! The roach seemed to have made a recovery to a fully mobile state. It flipped itself over and pulled its body close to the ground. This seemed to be actually a very good defense against the ants. The ants didn't seem too happy about the roach's sudden recovery, and when the worker rears to a semi-upright posture and grooms its mandibles and antennae, this is kind of like a war dance, the ant preparing itself for battle. Both ants found the wound and used that as their point of attack. Eventually, the roach realized its tuck and hide strategy wasn't working, so it tries to escape, successfully. The ants are notably agitated by losing track of their prey and frantically search for it. While I was intending for them to only have to scavenge for this meal, they had to try to hunt and immobilize the prey. I watched in awe. I had never seen the carpenters move with such speed and purpose up to this point. It seems they were determined to take home the goods. Eventually, when I had the chance, I grabbed the roach out of the creature keeper, careful not to injure the ants, and returned it to its anesthetization chamber, the freezer. This time for much longer to ensure it would have a painless death, instead of the futile game of lethal hide-and-seek full of ant bites and formic acid. This time the cold temperatures seemed to have done the trick, and the roach, now fully deceased, was a safe meal for the carpenters. As if harvesting a trophy from a hunt, one of the ants works at severing the roach's head, which it later brought back to the colony, a token of victory for their first successful hunt in their new outworld. This marks a new milestone in the development of the carpenters, where they will scavenge, hunt, and forage in their outworld until the winter, when they will go into diapause until the next spring, ready to grow and conquer even greater challenges, proving themselves as the marvels of biology they were born to be. Please like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can stay in the loop for all the updates to come. And as always, thank you for watching.